and we are, Baruch Hashem, holding at the top of Daf Nun Hey Amud Aleph. Says the Gemara at the top of top of the Amud. I'll send the link here. There we go. Quoting on the Mishnah, Uvechal Makam, that anywhere, whether you are in a place that they haven't been able to work on Tisha B'Av or not, a Talmud Chacham is not allowed to work, and a person can make themselves into a Talmud, meaning can claim themselves to be a Talmud Chacham and not work on Tisha B'Av. Says the Gemara as follows: it comes out that in our Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is the one that is not concerned for Yura for a regular person seeming arrogant by saying I'm a Talmud Chacham. The Rabbanan say Yura. No, we are concerned for the problem of arrogance, and not everybody's allowed to do that. But we have another Mishnah that seems to indicate exactly the opposite. Ditnan, the Mishnah says as follows: Chasan, with regards to Chasanim Yirtze, Chasan meaning the night that he's getting married, Yirtze Likras Kriya Shema Laila Rishon. If he wants to read the Shema, he wants to be yes the mitzvah of Kriya Shema on his wedding night, Kore, he can, he's allowed to. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Loi kol harot lital Hashem yital. Not everybody that wants to take the son is allowed to do so. Rashi says, what does it mean? Lital es Hashem. What's the shame? So Rashi says, Keser Perishus v'yiras chet. The name meaning the crown of precious of piousness, v'yiras chet, and fear of sin. So that he doesn't lose out on being mekabel all malchus shamayim even for one night. Not everybody that wants to claim such a crown is allowed to do so. The Mechsek Yura it looks like he's being arrogant, and therefore we say no, you cannot read Shema tonight. Now, Aminak today is that everybody reads, everybody says Shema, even the first night that they get married. But that's because we assume that nobody is having the fullest intensity of Kavanah that the Mishnahs and the Gemaras were assuming when they took on saying Shema. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, okay, so this is machlokes. This is a stira between Rabbanan and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Amar Rabbi Yochanan machlokes hashita. Then you have to switch around the shitas. Rav Shesha Berei Davidi. Amar Rav Shesha Berei Davidi. He says, no, lo tebuch. You don't have to switch around. There's a svara in each of these cases. Rabbanan lo kasha. The Rabbanan are not in contradiction with the Rabbanan. Hacha kevin the kula alma avde malacha. Since everybody is doing malacha, and he is not doing malacha, it looks like he's being arrogant. Everybody goes to work and he's just chilling. So it looks like he's being arrogant. But there, with regards to Kriya Shema, since everybody is saying Shema, nami kari, and he's also saying Shema, he's just doing what everybody else is doing. Meaning, the way Rav Shesha learns it is that if you do what everybody else is doing, then that's not called Yura. As long as Yura is only a function of sticking out, that seems to be the svara. The Rav Shimon Gamliel, Rav Shimon Gamliel, the kasha, and there's also no stir between Rav Shimon Gamliel and Rav Shimon Gamliel. Hasam hu deba'inen kavana. There in the case of Kriya Shema, deba'inen kavana. You need kavana in order to be able to say the Shema. The Alan Sade, and we can testify, meaning we, the Rabbanan, the world, can testify, that there's no ways that he can have kavana. That is a superhuman feat for a person to be able to have kavana, to be makabel ol malchus shamayim on the night of their wedding. So, and since we know that there's no ways he could be doing this, he looks like he's being arrogant, saying, yeah, of course I can. But here, with regards to work on Tisha B'Av, he's not going to look like he's arrogant. Why? Amri, he'll say, Malacha he deleisle. Malacha, he doesn't have. He didn't get a job today. Go and check out how many unemployed people there are in the marketplace. Meaning, that not working is not something that'll make a person necessarily stand out. Okay, on to the next Mishnah. About a third of the way down the Amud says the Mishnah as follows: the Chacham say, in the area of Yehuda, they would work. They would do malacha on Erev Pesach until Chatzos. After Chatzos, they didn't. With Galil, and in the Galil, up in the north of the country, they didn't do malacha at all. Halayla, at night, Beis Shammai says it is forbidden to work. Beis Hillel says you're allowed to work until Netzach Hama, meaning after B'dikas Chametz, you're allowed to do malacha. Now the Gemara questions this. The Gemara says, Mi'ikara Tana Minhaga. First, we started talking about Minhagim. Tana Yisura. And at the end, we say that Beis Shammai says it's Asur and Beis Hillel says it's Mutter. So hold on a second. How do we go from Minhag to Isur V'heter? Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Lekasha, no problem. Harib Meir, Harib Yehuda. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir, and this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. How? The Tanya, we have a Braisa, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, Hayu Osim Malacha Ba'arvei Pesachim Al Chatzos. That in Yehuda they would do Malacha until, on Erev Pesach until Chatzos, until midday. And in the Gala they don't do Malacha at all. Amar Lai Reb Meir, says Reb Meir to Rabbi Yehuda, Ma Rai Yehuda V'Gala Lakan. What relevance does Yehuda and Galil have to this entire question? Elamakom shenagul asas malacha osim. Makom shelo asas ein osim. Doesn't make a difference whether you're in Yehuda or Galil. There's the rule is you do what the minhag hamakom. And since Reb Meir says minhag makom shenagu michlad Rabbi Yehuda isur kamar, it sounds like what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that there is an isur, meaning that Reb Meir says it's about minhag, and Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says no, that it depends on whether you're in Yehuda or Galil, because there would be an isur versus a heter, meaning it's a bona fide isur in such a place. Says the Gemara, hold on a second. Does Rabbi Yehuda then hold that the 14th is mutar in malacha? So where do we have such a thing that he holds that it's mutar in malacha? Va'atanya, and then we have a price, and this is going to be a little bit of an involved proof. Rabbi Yehuda says, Hamanachesh b'shloisha asar v'nekra b'yodeh. Somebody's weeding their field on the 13th of Nisan. V'nekra b'yodeh accidentally uprooted some grains. Meaning he's out in his field, morning of the 13th, he's pulling out weeds, and he accidentally pulls out some grain. Shadla b'makom hatit, he should replant it in mud. Ve'ein shadla b'makom ha-garid, and he shouldn't put it in a dry place. There we go. You shouldn't put it in a dry place. Rashi says "Shetemaher likalet kodim ha'omer," because what you want is that this will take root once again before the ketziras ha'omer. The ketziras ha'omer would be on the first day of Chol Hamoed, meaning on the 16th of Nisan. Sha'omer matir es ha-nishrashin, because the omer, the korban ha'omer, will be matter you to be able to enjoy, to be able to benefit from anything that had taken root before the korban ha'omer. Aval hanishashim achar ha'omer asur, but that which takes root after the omer is asur mishum chadash. Achyav omer abba would be asur until the next year. So you want to make sure that this thing that you accidentally uprooted, that was asur to uproot, and you cannot use it yet, you need to stick it back in the ground so that you would be able to get the to be able to use it as soon as possible, meaning 3 days later for the korban ha'omer. So that's the din Rabbi Yehuda says. Ve'ein shel b'makom ha-garit b'shloisha asarin. Now what does it sound like? That you need to do this on, meaning this whole story is taking place on the 13th of Nisan. But ba'arba asar loy. But on the 14th day of the month of Nisan, we're not talking about. Meaning, that's not mentioned by Rabbi Yehuda. Michti. So let's see. Let's investigate here. Shamina le Rabbi Yehuda the Amar. We know that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that holds. Kol harkava she'ena kaletis the shlosh yomim shuv ena kaletis. That you need at least 3 days for something to take root once again. Meaning, he wants you to stick in the ground so that it takes root. Shuv ena kaletis, and if it didn't, then it's not going to take root. V'i sal kedayt, and if you would think arba asar mutabar says malacha, that on the 14th day of the month of Nisan, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that it is permissible to do malacha. Lama li shlosh asar. Why did he teach shlosh asar? Why did he teach the 13th of Nisan? V'ha'ika, because you would still have arbesar ve'chamesar umiktsas shitzar. You would still have the 14th day. That would be day 1 of regrowing roots. The 14th and the 15th, and a little bit of the morning of the 16th, which would be perfectly fine according to Rabbi Yehuda. And since he doesn't say this din, it doesn't say this whole story on the 14th, that would seem to be a dead giveaway, that Rabbi Yehuda holds that there's no ways that you'd be working on the 14th of Nisan. The whole thing is asur. So we wanted to say that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says that it is dependent on Yehuda and Galil. It seems to be that Rabbi Yehuda holds the whole thing is asur. Amar Rava. Rava says, no problem, but Galil, shone. No, he's teaching this din only in the Galil, where it's asur to work the whole of the 14th. Va'ika lalia. But you could do it at night. You could do it at night. Why couldn't you do the night of the 14th? Amar Rav Sheshes says, Rav Sheshes ke Beis Shammai. No, he also like Beis Shammai. He's holding the same svara as Beis Shammai, that at night of the 14th would also be asur. Which is a hard svara to say, because in general we don't try to be making like Beis Shammai. But says the Gemara, Rav Ashi, Amar Rav Ashi says, no, la'olam ke Beis Hillel. We of course are going according to the opinion of Beis Hillel. Fi she'ein darken shebnei adam lenachash balayla. And the reason that we didn't mention Laila is because the whole context there is a person is weeding his field at night. Weeding the field. And who's going out to weed their field at night? Yeah, in a chanami. If a person would to be weeding their field at night, that would make sense. But nobody's doing that. Ravina Amar Ravina says, Yehuda, are we even talking about in Yehuda, Uvahash Rasha? But with regards to taking root, Chad Mitzvah Sayam Kekula Amrina, we would say the din of Chad of Mitzvah Sayam Kekula, that a little bit of the day is considered to be a whole day. That's the din that you find by Avelus, that if you said Avelus Shiv for a minute on the first day and the last day, so we say Mixas Hayom Kukula, that a little bit is considered to be the whole day. So that's good and well to say once in a 3-day period. Chad Mixas Hayom Kukula Amrina and Trey Mixas Hayom Kukula La Amrina. But we're not going to say that in order for rerouting of the plant to take place, it's enough to have a little bit on the 14th, the whole of the 15th, and then a little bit on the 16th. That doesn't cut it. That wouldn't be sufficient for taking root again, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda taught the din of the 13th, because that's the one that makes sense. Okay, says the Mishnah as follows. Mishnah 11 lines from the bottom of Nun Hey Amud Aleph, says the Mishnah. Rabbi Meir Amir Meir says, Kol malacha shehischil ba kodim la'arba asar. Any malacha that you began before the 14th of Nisan, gomer ba'arba asar, one is allowed to finish on the 14th of Nisan. So you got whatever it is, you got wires hanging out of the wall. You're allowed to finish up the changing the plug, right? Aval. But if you didn't start on the 14th, even though you are able to finish it, I mean, it's a quick job. But you shouldn't start in the malacha even if you could finish it. The Chacham say, there are 3 professions that do malacha on Erev Pesach. Al Chatzos, until Chatzos, ve'elohem, and these are they: hachayatim, the tailors, ve'hasofrim, and the barbers, the haircutters, ve'akofsin, and the launderers. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says, af ratzanim, even shoemakers, they are also allowed to work on Erev Pesach. Says the Gemara asking the question, they wanted to know as follows. L'tzorech hamoed tanan, does this heter that you can finish things for tzorech yom tov, that you can finish things. L'tzorech hamoed tanan, is that only for the sake of getting it done because you need it on yom tov? But if not for, but if you don't need it for yom tov, then you are not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to finish. Or alternatively, that the whole mission is talking about finishing work that just finishing up the work that you need to get done by the end of the week, but you don't need it for yantiv. But if it would be required, you'd even be allowed to begin doing malacha on Erev Pesach. Or alternatively, a third interpretation, Migmar in achuli, like whether you need it for yantiv, you don't need it for yantiv, you are allowed to finish, but you are not allowed to start. So that is the question. Three-way machlokes in how to understand the context of the Mishnah. We will continue with Tashma tomorrow morning. Everybody should have a wonderful day.